Okay, so thank you, Stephen, and thank you for introducing me. Here you can find some more contact details. So it would be very great if you can join me, for example, on LinkedIn and get in contact. In my, as Stephen said, I would like to brief you on the product updates. And before that, I want to share with you what has been so far our vision, not the market vision that Paul presented, but more exactly what we mean for an API manager. And it's important to consider that so far we have been driven in this journey of API manager from the meaning that for us this means a full lifecycle management. For us, a product, an API management product should cover the main use cases which are related to the API management lifecycle, which are the use case of an API publisher, which has to connect to a portal or a publisher to design and publish API and make them available on a gateway and make them available to a subscriber. And this is the second use case where a subscriber should be able to search for the API that fit his requirement and get access to documentation and get access, be enabled to, for example, cite sign-on and login and so activate the API, so subscribe the API. And this is the second use case. The third use case is basically the use case of the end user, an application user through the application developed by these API subscribers should be able to invoke the final API. And then there is the fourth use case, which is the use case of the API publisher and the API subscriber that they want to have control over the API they have created or the application they have created. So they have to be able to have insights or to see what's happening behind the machine and have a full control of their assets and eventually set up alert, etc. So this is not, as you can see, our vision is not the vision of an API gateway or an API portal or API gateway with a portal on top, but the full lifecycle management, which cover the four main use cases. And for achieving that, we have developed a product which is complete because this is basically componentized. So all these use cases can be fulfilled by different components. And these components we plan to divide in three main planes. So this, of course, the logical one, the data plane, what the data actually go through between the application consumer to the business services. And here already we have also a key differentiator because we provide this data plane in different flavor. We provide not only the classical centralized API gateway, but we give the possibility to deploy in a microservices approach, with a microservice approach using a micro gateway, or in a if a customer is interested in something like a service mesh, we have also an Istio option to deploy our gateway. And these are controlled by a management plane. A management plane where the first two of the use cases I presented before takes place. So the API publisher, we have API publisher for the API subscriber, for the API publisher themselves. So it can be the API developer or an API product manager. And then we have a development portal you can use to create an API marketplace, and development portal are accessed by the API subscriber, it can be application developers. And then we have the control plane. And the control plane is the component where the policy created by the API publisher applies. For example, key manager, we are a full integrated key manager for identity, for security policies, and a traffic manager for throttling and for enabling monetization. So this is something that we want to stress, because something that I think we distinguish ourselves in the market of the API management. And having said that, I would like to present you which are the main, in our opinion, the main key differentiators of the point we distinguish us compared to the other operators in the market. And I listed some points. The first two are obvious after the Paul and myself said so far. So Paul presented this API supply chain. So we have now, we claim that we have the instruments to achieve that already now. We are still progressing in this direction, but already now with the product that we offer, we have this vision of integrated API supply chain. And then the second, also quite obvious after the two previous slides, so our platform is a complete platform for API product manager, API developer, or technical engineer. So it's not a full complete product. And also, Paul discussed a lot of these federations and marketplace. We think we have the instruments for enabling these new business models. Because this new business model means that you have to have, for example, a developer portal. You can connect many API ISO API distributed everywhere. You need to have the possibility to federate identity or manage identity, or you have to have billing functionalities. We have all these capabilities. And also talking about security, identity management, our product has an embedded identity provider with identity management capabilities and single sign-on capabilities. So you can rely on your own identity provider, but we have also, because you can federate it, you can integrate your identity provider, but if you don't have, we have this functionality embedded in the product. And also, compared to other market operator, we support decentralized and centralized runtime. As I show you before, we can provide, for example, a micro gateway. We support, fully support Kubernetes deployment with a dedicated operator. And we strongly recommend multi-cloud deployment or hybrid deployment. And in terms of technology, we also are providing the support for the latest trends. So we mentioned already GraphQL or protocol like gRPC and many other that we also we talk about quickly later. And also, last but not least, we are open source. So this open source, being open source, open the possibility to different approach for using the product. You can start small, start testing, start using it, and then eventually think a bit bigger and involve WSO2 for a full commitment. And another point that we distinguish us is the possibility to, is the flexibility in the deployment. And not only flexibility in terms of distribution of the component that I mentioned before, but the choice between cloud, private, or mixed solution. So you, for example, you can rely on WSO2 multi-tenant share API cloud, which is completely hosted and managed by us. So you don't have to care about the installation, fixing, etc. This is completely handled by WSO2, and what you have to do is to use the services, create the services on top of the infrastructure, use it, and pay. You will pay according to what you use. This is available multi-region and give you the possibility to make any hybrid deployment, the classic hybrid deployment for example, a management plane on the cloud, but the gateway on your premises. And yeah, you can connect your private DC, and the only limitation that you have in this case is a limited size or grade of customization. Completely on the other side, you can deploy your solution on private on-premises. That is completely basically the opposite. It's self-hosted, self-managed, fully flexible, but you have to take in consideration the fact that you have some learning curve to install the product, to manage a product, to set up the fixes, etc. In the middle, we can offer what we call managed cloud, which has a bit of the advantage of both. It's privately hosted, but managed by us. And we as WSO2, we can take care of all the upgrades, patches, installation, etc. So you have still the full control or better control of the environment, but not the pain of the management and troubleshooting, etc. So regarding functionalities, we claim to have one of the broadest portfolio. So for example, our gateway, which is policy enablement point, can count of capacity like protocol handling, transformation, micro gateway deployment, transforming data in services, and as I said, support not only REST, but a wide range of protocol. I mentioned already GraphQL, gRPC, and now we recently introduced AWS Lambda. And security-wise also, we cover basically all the potential need that a customer may have as regards his API management journey. From the standard WSO2, the initial protocol that we create our product on. Now we extend it with API keys, basic authentication, mutual SSL is included as an option, and also, of course, single sign-on. We support JSON Web Token, and recently we had other functionality that we'll talk in detail later. In terms of business and analytics, you can count on a dedicated component, which is analytics, where you can report the status of the API that are running, the runtime, the API, the app, the big creation, etc. You can count on real-time analytics, and through traffic management, you can enable monetization of your API. We are fully committed to be cloud native as far as possible. So we have, for example, integration for Istio, installation assets for Kubernetes, Docker. We introduce a Kubernetes operator, and regarding, we integrate also our cloud native solution with other cloud native components like Prometheus and Grafana for monitoring. And you can rely on our portal or develop portal or store for creating an API marketplace, for example, or enable monetization, mocking, and recently we introduced a very interesting feature, which is artificial intelligence based recommendation for the development portal. Exactly this is what we introduced in 3.0 version last year, and this year we also already made an upgrade, and recently with these two versions we make really a great step ahead in terms of feature that we can cover. Here you can find a really broad list that I wouldn't go through in detail one by one, but as you can see, it's very we're trying to cover really all the potential needs for each and every customer. So in 3.0, for example, we introduced, I already mentioned, okay, GraphQL, I already mentioned. We had API keys on top of WSO2. Very important, we introduced an out-of-the-box integration with Stripe for monetization. So monetization now is a potential ready-to-use features with WSO2. And in terms of security, we introduced JWT authentication, schema validation, BOT detection. In terms of business, we introduced the possibility to create API products on top of API. And with the latest version this year, we had, for example, we move a bit forward in the direction of serverless, for example. This is also a direction that we want to cover even more in the future, integrating AWS Lambda. And also we work a lot in terms of security, integrating API security audit integration through a partner with 42 Crunch. I have already mentioned the development portal also has new features like AI-based recommendation for the developer. And this is significantly relevant when you have created, for example, a marketplace with many API. So this can give the developer, the user of the development portal, easier way to navigate, to search API based on, for example, his preferences that have been stored and built action after action. The mocking functionality, though was already present in the previous version, has been increased with the possibility to create automatically a mock, a stub or a framework of the mock based on the API definitions. And we also increase the functionality of the analytics. The micro gateway feature has a different release cycle. We have the same numbers, but they follow a slightly different release cycle. And we are also, for the micro gateways of a separate component, introduced very recently we are introducing new feature continuously. Yeah. For example, still in 3.0, we introduced, for example, HTTP2 support, again, also schema validation. And this is relevant because micro are immutable. It is important to have a registry where you can, for example, load or store the endpoint. And so we integrate with etcd for service discovery. And also very important, with 3.0 and 3.10, we introduce the possibility to make also for micro gateway, the same for gateway transformation. In 3.0 with Ballerina code, in 3.10 with Java code. Yeah, so now 3.10 support also gRPC. We support a policy hub for transformation. We can integrate natively third-party IDP, and we support also API keys authentication. What about the future? Well, the future, this is intentionally, I left intentionally this slide, which is to have a hook to what Paul said. So we are starting this market vision that is presented from Paul is our polar star for the next releases. And the first main milestone that we have in mind is to introduce this WSO2 API first integration platform, which will be a platform this will be a unified platform which bundles together API management and integration functionalities with the same, using the same tooling, the same DevOps. We expect that this will increase the productivity of the API developers in their journey for creating an end-to-end API between the users and the actual backend. All what is in the middle, so API policies, definition, etc., and integration is covered by one single platform. And this, for example, expect some benefit also where we can drive our customer through our best practice integration patterns. For example, we are strongly recommending an approach which is we call API first integration with several options like bottom-up or top-down approach. And this will be strongly cloud-oriented. So our recommended approach or deployment approach will be on based on management plane or cloud and data planes everywhere. but this is not the only option, but this will be this recommended approach, because we strongly believe in a cloud-oriented deployment. And yeah, what we expected, it will be not only the tooling, share of the tooling, but share of the management, sharing of stability and tracing between the two main components of this integration platform, that will be API management and integration. We expect significant technical benefit for our customers for when it's come to build end-to-end API infrastructure. But this is not only the only milestone for this year. As you can see here, we have a very ambitious plan, especially for 2020, and a clear vision for 2021 and beyond. And for 2020, we will continue releasing new features in the direction that I hope are clear after this my presentation. For example, we already support WebSocket now, but now this is limited to WebSocket client, to WebSocket server. We'll introduce a possibility to have a WebSocket proxy for REST API, which will give the possibility to implement new patterns, synchronous to asynchronous pattern. Regarding GraphQL, also we introduced GraphQL in the previous version. Now we realize that for example, the throttling model for GraphQL is not relevant if it's based as it is now on the number of transactions or the bandwidth per second or per minute, because a GraphQL can be very complex. So this introduces a new, let's say, dimension, and the new subscription plans for the GraphQL subscription plan will consider also the complexity of the GraphQL query. We will have, regarding micro gateway, the possibility to create directly instantiate private jet API micro gateway from the user interface. This today is not possible. You have to go through a toolkit, but with a version, the experience for create micro gateway will be similar to the experience that create normal gateway. And regarding federation that we discussed a lot so far, we are going to create out-of-the-box integration with third-party identity provider. So I mentioned before that one key differentiator of our product is an embedded identity provider, but we also realize many companies have already their own tool. And then we want to make it easier, the setup of an external identity provider, and we accomplish this in the next release. We are, of course, also moving ahead in terms of also here federation with other gateway providers. For example, we will have a new Envoy-based API gateway, which will support Envoy. We can basically create the policies and deploy them on Envoy directly instead of our gateway. This is a new feature that will be added to gateway, micro gateway, and Istio. Then the next release will be a possibility to have an Envoy gateway, and same on this in this direction we will have serverless API gateways. The Istio integration will be upgraded following Istio updates. Istio change that are going on, we will follow Istio in this journey. So we'll create a new integration for Istio, and also this aspect to have our management and control plane being potentially used by other gateway, not only ours, will be enforced when we add this support for open policy agent. So we support open policy agent for creating standard and general purpose policies. In the direction to going beyond Open API standard, we will support a different pattern, different let's say, protocol. So we want to support asynchronous API for Kafka and NATS. And regarding vertical, we will have a specific package for fast healthcare interoperability resources. This is a vertical in the healthcare sectors. If you look a bit beyond 2020 and see what will happen in 2021 and later, yeah, we will continue our effort for creating or supporting the possibility to create federated API marketplaces. So we will have, we will increase our features for example, a decentralized billing, for having a secure and trustworthy review, and for decentralized API governance, for example. And another significant effort will be to support massive scale API management. We have recently the case of companies that are asking to deploy a large number of API with a not so relevant number of transactions per second. And so we are moving in the direction to support this kind of deployment, for example, removing the file system dependencies and rely more on database dependencies, which can support a larger number of APIs. Regarding analytics and billings, we are moving in the direction to integrate more and more third-party analytics and business components. And as I said before, we are now supporting Stripe out-of-the-box billing. We will support more, and the same in the direction of the quality enforcement that we are already will continue in this effort to, for example, that we support now Open Policy Agent, a new IDP. This effort will continue in the future for extension of newer other third-party provider, and the same in the direction of the discoverability, so service registry, etc. Yeah, and that's all. So thank you for your attention, and as said by Stephen and Paul, we will take care of your question in the last part of this webinar, and be happy to answer as many questions as we can. And okay, and Stephen, hand over to you.